Good morning, everybody. This is Jack Gleason with Startuptrading.com. It is 9 o'clock in the morning, September 15th, 2020. Tuesday, our economic news events in the overnight session for the Great Britain pound. We had the claimant account, which was a beat, and we had average hourly earnings and the unemployment rate as well. We had some news out of the European Union as well, French CPI, and ZEW economic sentiment. This morning, manufacturing sales and for the Canadian dollar, and then the Empire State manufacturing numbers for the U.S. markets at 9:15. Capacity utilization rate will be the first news event post this current time, and then nothing until really it's all a bunch of yellow star news events. So there's nothing really very impactful until the Japanese yen at 750 as a trade balance. The yen has been falling pretty aggressively. As a reminder, our biggest news events are going to be tomorrow at the FOMC economic statement and the federal funds rate, as well as the press conference. So a lot of news tomorrow. Red Star news events for the U.S. markets, the Australian markets, and then they have the monetary policy statement for the pound on Thursday. So pretty packed news events coming up after today. Titled this video Gold Daily Wedge Pattern, and I'm just going to go to a gold daily chart. We have this dotted purple line is the bottom trend line of the wedge, and this solid orange line is the top trend line of the wedge. You can see we have come to that top trend line of the wedge here. I still would like to see us really, I'm going to start looking and thinking we're going to break out above this 1987. We do have a couple of upside targets near 1991. And I'll move down to an hourly chart. When we break out of this wedge, I do think we will get through at least the highs of the 18th, and then possibly, over time. I don't think it'll be immediate, but we will be getting through that all-time high that was put in August. And it's a little over a month later since this consolidation has begun, and this daily wedge has been the consolidation pattern we've been inside of. Higher time frame targets in gold are still up at 21,080, and we do have that FOMC press conference and federal fund rate this week that is absolutely a catalyst. Last week on Friday, we came out of what was the 50% retracement long for the week. It was Tuesday's low to Thursday's high. It pulled halfway back on Friday. Now, if you look at this trend line, we had two perfect touches yesterday. 1, 2, and then we began a series higher. Now, there's a pretty strange extension in here. I don't have it up, but basically it's 1953 to high, and we completed profit targets. We have not yet had a same anchor new high. What is holding here is just the halfway back from that low. Because we confirmed its upside target by breaking out of the short. And so that is the series I'm going to use. We're bullish above a 1968 on the intraday time frame, and if we do get below that level, we'll move into the 1963, and our upside targets here at 1990. We're punching. We're right on this trend line. And with gold moving is silver, which pulled into its halfway back on Thursday, dipped into it on Friday. We've held it for Thursday, Friday, Sunday night. We opened right at it, and then we had a 50% retracement out of the low on Monday that went into an extension. This same anchor new high has been very technical. We had it once to target yesterday, twice. There's 3 times. We're on our way to the third target, which is 27.94. In the higher time frame, negative 23% profit target is 28.17. If at any point in time we did come into the full halfway back long, that is a valid setup as well. And that is Friday's low to the most recent high. You can even argue that there's a traditional from that European session low to high here that is held, but it's already traded, so that's, anything would be a second test. Moving on to the Russell. The Russell yesterday started the day in a 50% retracement long from the Sunday night open. We completely blew through targets. We then began an extension from 15.14 to high, traded its 38. We've completely blown through those targets. So going into this morning, we're going to have a 1533.2 too high. and we are bullish above 1539.3. If we break below 1539.3, we break the long sequence. We will begin looking for a potential reversal. But right now we are bullish above 1539.3 with the 50% retracement lining up at 1541.3. 1541.3 is also a prior daily swing low. That's why it's marked with the dotted purple line. So our 50% retracement of the extension here in the Russell is going to line up right at that level, 1541.3. The 50% is 1541.2. So that's a double confirmation support level. Moving on to the S&P 500, which also held what was Sunday night's gap up, the low of the gap, to the high, into the close. That's what we came into. Our overnight highs are the profit target of that setup. Now, we confirmed this once during the end of the day, but the end of the day can always be a little wild. We basically came into a retest and then confirmed it again. After we confirmed it a second time, coming out of the European Open, as volume picked up, we traded the full 50% retracement long from the low of close, and we completed those targets as well. So going into the day here, the first thing I'm going to watch is just this next traditional, which is that European session low from 345 to high. That lines up with the prior high here. And that is going to be the first support level. This would also be valid, the halfway back from Monday's low to high. So there's two different variations of support right now near the open that I'm watching. 33.92, which lines up with the prior high of the previous day, and then the full halfway back long from the lows of the close of the prior day to high. And that's a 33.85 quarter. Moving on to the Dow. The Dow held what was the Sunday night open too high in a front run at close. We've gone through those targets here. We also had the 50% retracement long front run. So what I'm going to look for in the Dow is the full halfway back from Monday's low to high. And that lines up with the prior high of the day as well, and the consolidation of the last move up that started at 4 o'clock. That's a 27,957 for the YM. The NASDAQ, a little different here. The NASDAQ was the highest percentage change and had a lot of volatility yesterday. We had, straight up, we retested these lows here. We did not hold that Sunday night low to high at the end of the day. We ran into its original setup. This was its original setup, and then we began moving higher. Now, we held that first 50% retracement long. We technically have gone into an extension from that 50% retracement long. So that is the sequence I'm going to be paying attention to here. The high at 11,311, half to high, going into the morning. If that breaks, we'll have to identify our next support, but I would anticipate, just like those other markets, just that prior day low to high. So those are the two variations of support I'll be watching in the NQ. Oil. Little tough here. We are inside of a extension short at 40.22. That's the anchor. It's Thursday, September 3rd, low to low. Okay, we had the 50 trade last Wednesday, and we've been consolidating inside of it. Now, there was a 50% retracement short from the swing high of last Wednesday. Now, that has broken. So there is the possibility of a trend reversal here for the oil market. And that would be from the low of Friday to high. And that lines up with where we broke out of. And it's at 37.35 on a first test only. If we do not hold this, we are just revalidating a front run, another front run, a 15 pip front run of that extension short on the higher time frame. But this could possibly begin a reversal here at 37.35. The USD JPY is getting smoked. We came out of a 50% retracement short, and it was a little sloppy, but we really began selling off Sunday. Now, we have totally gone through our negative 23% profit target at this point in time. What I will look for is a low from Wednesday to low. Low from last Wednesday to low. That 50 will line up with a halfway back short for the day and a prior low. So 105.51 right now to 105.56 is a valid resistance zone for the USD JPY, and probably one of my favorite trades here today. The higher time frame downside targets in the USD JPY in the daily chart, and you can see, look at this consolidation. We've been in it for quite some time. We're right on the lows. We are right on the lows. We have FOMC this week. Downside targets, I have all the way, the biggest target I have is I think all the way down at 102.84. It's quite a ways away. The Aussie dollar is really picking up strength here. We started blasting off yesterday, right around like 9 o'clock, and we're just going straight up. Now, there is a halfway back long here on the higher time frame that traded on Thursday. It retested on Friday. We went to the bottom of the range. We're getting up, and we're most likely going to hit that 73.55 target. There might not be anything to do until that happens. So I'm going to set alert at that 73.55 target, and when that 73.55 profit target completes, I'll then have to pay attention to what the market is doing and what our next setup will be. But right now, if we did get a rotation back, the full halfway back long from Thursday's low to high is what I'd be paying attention to, and that's a 72.93. The euro continues to just push higher here, push higher. Now, the lows of Sunday, the lows of the week, where is it? I can't even tell where the beginning of the week is. Right here. All right. The lows of the week to high have come just shy of their profit target. And so I'm just going to continue to use that low of Sunday night to high as our bullish above line in the sand. And that's a 118.65. 118.65 support level here for the Euro USD. The pound traded its halfway back long. Now, it did dip in, it retested a swing low, but then we validated the long setup, traded our next measure move to target, and so I'm just looking at the full halfway back long for the day, and that's a 128.69. 128.69 for the GBP USD. And then last, the USD CAD, which at this point in time, we've had a first test of a 50% retracement long, and opposing that, there's this 50% retracement short. This 50% retracement short technically validated itself here in the overnight session and is getting sold into a full halfway back short with a downside target of a 131.17. So we have opposing setups here in the USD CAD. Both have already had their first test. We've had the first test at a long. We traded the short once, twice, 3 times, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we started getting front run yesterday, validated it, and this last move was front run by 2. So you'd have to wait for the completion to take the next measured move. But that's what I have here for the USD CAD. And that's really what all I have here for today. But remember, FOMC tomorrow, probably a lot of traders positioning all sorts of, all of these markets, traders are taking their positions before the anticipation of whatever is going to be said tomorrow or whatever the decision is. I don't know. But we're going to be seeing some movement because of that. But that's going to wrap up this morning's trade plan video. I will share all of my levels that I've just mapped out here to the members of the Startup Trading community through the Startup Trading Discord. If you enjoyed this content, please give this video a thumbs up. Feel free to share it with anybody who you might think would be interested in learning how to trade futures and technical analysis of the futures market. Everybody trade safe. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in the trade room. Take care.